Welcome to the English Epics channel. Where are you dressed up like that? My wife asked as I came downstairs wearing a suit and tie. We're having a boys' night out with the guys. We're planning to meet at the Kit Kat Club. The Kit Kat Club. That's a pickup joint for girls. No, but even if it were, so what? I'm a married man and I'm not planning to cheat on you. The owner is Mike's brother and he's giving us drinks at half price. I'd prefer it if you didn't go. I've already told the guys to count me in. I've got to run. I'm not sure how long I'll be, so don't wait up, I said as I walked out the door. As I drove away from the house, I thought about what had just happened. I wasn't sure if Cora realized it, but our brief conversation, almost word for word, mirrored what she told me 6 weeks ago when I came home from work to find her all dressed up and ready for a girls' night out. The only difference was that she went to the Starlight Lounge instead of the Kit Kat Club and didn't mention drinks at half price. Since that evening, she'd been going out with the girls every Thursday. I had protested, but to no avail. One Thursday evening, I called her and said I was stuck at work and would be home late. She said she'd leave some pizza in the microwave for me and give it 3 minutes. I parked at the end of the block as she left the house. I let her get a full block ahead, and then followed her. I didn't know if she'd notice me or not. If she wasn't doing anything wrong, she probably wouldn't be looking to see if anyone was following her. Even if she was up to something, she likely wouldn't be worried about being followed because I was too stupid or oblivious, right? I don't know if she thought I was dumb and clueless. Maybe she just didn't realize she was raising red flags. She went to work in a nice dress and heels, but she couldn't have left work and gone to the lounge dressed like that, could she? She had to come home and dress even more provocatively. At least that's how it seemed to me to meet the girls at the lounge. Coming home later and later, needing to shower as soon as she got home. She couldn't use cigarette smoke as an excuse, because smoking in bars and restaurants is banned by law. She drove to the Starlight Lounge and parked in the farthest row from the building. That seemed odd to me, considering there were plenty of closer spots near the door. I parked in a spot where I could keep an eye on her car, but far enough away that she wouldn't notice me unless she was deliberately looking. I knew the layout of the Starlight Lounge, and there was no way I could enter without being noticed, which I wanted to avoid, so I had to get creative. On Wednesday, I found out who would be working as the chef on Thursday. A $100 bill and a promise. Not to cause a scene allowed me to enter through the back door into the kitchen and take a spot where I could observe the bar and dance floor without being seen. More precisely, I might have been noticed, but dressed in a white coat and a chef's hat, I was confident no one would think twice about me. By the time I got to my vantage point, Cora was already seated. She was at 2 tables pushed together with 3 other women and 4 men. Just as I settled into my spot, she was breaking off a kiss with the man sitting to her right. I pulled out my phone and started recording video. For the next 2 hours, I watched as Cora danced with the man to her right, kissed him, and let him grab her inappropriately. After 2 hours, the group began to disperse. I thanked the chef for his help and headed to my car. About 15 minutes later, Cora and the man she had been clinging to most of the evening came out and approached a car parked near hers. From my vantage point, it was difficult to see exactly what was happening, but I saw enough. They weren't in the back seat, but a quick swab from the tonsils would have told me everything I needed to know. I went home and went straight to bed. When Cora returned home, I wasn't asleep yet, but pretended to be. The bedside clock read 11:05, and when I left the parking lot earlier, it had been 9:35, so she'd had plenty of time to do the dirty deed, and she had taken a shower before getting into bed. When she climbed into bed, she snuggled up to me, kissed my neck and whispered, "I love you." "I'm sure you do," I thought, lying there and waiting for sleep to take me. On Friday at work, I was thinking about what to do. Cora was cheating on me. That much was clear. Maybe she wasn't outright giving herself to someone else, but to me, kissing another man, dancing with him, letting his hands roam over her body, all of that was infidelity as far as I was concerned. Was it enough to warrant a divorce? That was something I still needed to consider. Whatever she was doing, it hadn't affected our sex life. Even after 10 years of marriage, we were still having sex 3 to 4 times a week. I was making love, but what about her? I thought about it for 3 or 4 days and decided to let her have a taste of her own medicine. She would come home, dressed to the nines for her girls' night out, and I'd come home from work and dress up for my boys' night out. Of course, there was no boys' night, but Cora didn't know that. I would simply go to one of the sports bars on the other side of town, kill about 3 hours, and then come home and immediately take a shower. That was bound to get her attention because I never showered at night. I always took my shower in the morning. I relished the sour expression on Cora's face. As I left the house and headed to the sports bar, on the way, I decided to change plans and went to the movie theater complex on Perry Ave instead. After leaving my coat and tie in the car, I went into the complex, picked one of the 6 movies playing, bought some popcorn and a soda, and sat down to watch, killing time before heading back home. I put my coat and tie back on and started driving home. On the way, it occurred to me that if Cora was waiting for me, it would be easier to fool her if I had the smell of alcohol on my breath. So I stopped at Buckskin's to have a drink or two. Buckskin's is a country/western bar where bands perform on Friday and Saturday nights. That evening, Carlos Washington's band was performing, and I managed to get a seat at the bar and order a beer. I sat there drinking my beer and watching couples dance the two-step on the dance floor. When the band started playing Straight Song, The Chair, and people lined up to dance the cowboy cha-cha, I got off my stool and joined them. I stayed for the electric slide and then returned to my bar stool. I ordered another beer and planned to drink it, watch the dancers, and head home afterward. Everything changed when Carlos announced he had received several requests for Ride Cowboy Ride. He hadn't even finished his announcement when I felt a hand on my shoulder and heard a voice say, "Hey, cowboy, they're playing our song." I turned around and saw Brenda Asher standing there. She pulled me off the bar stool and dragged me to the dance floor. On the way, I asked her how this song became our song. "Because it's the first song we're going to dance to," she replied. "You can't argue with that," I thought as we transitioned to a western swing. I'd known Brenda for about 5 years. She worked at the same company as I did, but in a different department. Western swing isn't the kind of dance where you can carry on a conversation, at least not easily. So I just kept my mouth shut and focused on the dance. When Ride Cowboy Ride ended, the band moved on to Coopertown RD, and we stayed on the floor for that dance too. When it ended, Carlos announced that the band was taking a break. As we were leaving the dance floor, Brenda said, "Grab a drink and join us at our table." "Who's us?" I asked the girls from work. "You know all of them." She followed me to the bar, and when I had my drink in hand, she led me to 2 tables pushed together where 5 women were sitting. I knew 4 of them, but not the 5th. As we approached the table, Brenda said, "Hey, girls, look what I found, our very own dance partner." Then she turned to me and said, "You know all the girls, right? I know Sally, Marcia, Patty, and Mary, but not this young lady. Pauline French," the woman said, extending her hand. Bob Dalton," I said, taking her hand and shaking it. I sat down and asked, "What brings all of you ladies here on a Friday night?" "A girls' night out," Marcia replied. "Why? Do you ask Friday? It's the perfect night for dates, and I can't imagine that such lovely ladies as you 6 wouldn't have any dates." "We're all married," Sally said. "We just have a girls' night out one Friday a month. Friday because most places don't have live bands. During the week, what's your story? A boys' night out. And where are the other boys?" Patty asked. "There aren't any. Just me." "Sounds like there's a story behind that," Pauline said. None of the women knew Cora except for those who had met her at company social events, and I felt the need to unburden myself, so to speak. And hell, maybe a woman's perspective could help me make sense of things. So I told them the whole story, right up to the part where I started mirroring Cora's actions. But you don't know if she's actually had sex with anyone else, right? Brenda asked. Not yet, but I'm thinking of hiring a private investigator to find out for sure. Why don't you just talk to her? Sally asked. If I did that and she denied everything, I'd be back to square one. If I had information from an investigator, at least I'd know if she was lying. Then Mary chimed in. Maybe she's doing what I did a few years ago. At my last job, there was a guy who kept hitting on me even though he knew I was married. Eventually, it me off, and I decided to mess with him. I let him on, let him think he was getting closer and closer to having me, and every time, I sent him home with blue balls. Maybe your wife is doing something like that, so don't confront her, Brenda said. Let her confront you. All you need to do is take turns dancing with us girls, and when you get home, you'll smell like perfume. I'll even take care of that. Right before you leave, I'll spray you with the perfume I carry in my bag. Your wife will smell it on you, and I bet she'll give you a hard time. Then just tell her that you're only doing what she's doing, and if it's good enough for her, it should be good enough for you. Let's see what happens after that. Do you think it'll work? What do you have to lose? It'll definitely be cheaper than hiring a private investigator, Patty said. My brother spent over $3,000, and the detective didn't find out anything. I decided to agree because, as Brenda said, what do I have to lose? I danced with the 6 women until 10:30 p.m., thanked them for a fun evening, and headed home. Cora was already up and waiting for me when I got home. Hi, I said. I thought you'd be in bed already. I'll see you in the bedroom. I just need to take a quick shower, and headed for the shower. She followed me, asking, Why do you need a shower? You never take showers at night. I ignored her, stripped off my clothes, and left them on the bedroom floor. Stepping into the shower, I quickly washed up, and when I came out, I found Cora sitting on the bed holding my suit. You said you were going out with the guys, but this coat doesn't smell like you were with the guys. I'm not thrilled about this, Bob. Not one bit. You're not thrilled. Let me see if I can understand this. Every Thursday, you come home from work, dress up provocatively, leave the house for a girls' night out, come home late, immediately take a shower, and then go to bed. Tonight I came home from work, dressed up, went out for a boys' night, came home late, and immediately took a shower. So, are you saying it's okay when you do it, but not when I do it? When I got upset about you doing this, your attitude was, tough luck, Bob, deal with it. But now that I'm saying I don't like it, am I supposed to care? That's not how it works, Cora. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Nonsense, Robert. I go out with the girls, not with men. You said you were going out with the guys, but judging by the smell of your coat, you were clearly with women. There you go again. So it's okay for you to dance with men at your girls' nights out, but I'm not allowed to dance with women at my boys' nights out. I don't dance with men when I'm out with the girls. Really? Hold on a second, I said, pulling out my phone. I tapped a few buttons and brought up a video of her on the screen. You don't dance with men when you're out with the girls? Then who? Pray tell, is this woman in the video, if not you? She looked at the video, her face turning pale, and I could practically read her thoughts. What else does he know? It was loud and clear. Now explain why you can't justify the kisses, his hands, all over your body, and you doing nothing to stop him. The silence, as they say, was deafening. Come on, Cora, spill it. I want to know everything right down to what happened in that man's car after you left the lounge. She looked down at the floor, took a deep breath, and then looked back at me. Please don't interrupt me until I've told you everything. I've been acting like a fool. His name is Brad, and he's the company Casanova. He slept with all the single women and 2 married ones. According to the girls, he has a very large, and he knows how to use it. Apparently, he decided it was my turn and started coming on to me. I've always thought he was a jerk because he'd pursue a woman, get her, stay with her for a month or so, then dump her and move on to the next. When he decided I was his next target, I thought I'd lead him on, let him believe he was getting somewhere, and then send him home with blue balls. For the past few weeks, I've been playing along, letting him think he's getting closer to what he wants. Since you seem to know I kissed him in his car, he should also know that we never got to the back seat. He thought he had me that night. But he doesn't even realize that what happened that night was as far as he was ever going to get. Last night he pushed as far as he could again, thinking he'd worn me down. But he'll never have me. I'm yours, and he'll never get what belongs to you and always will belong to you alone. I've had fun messing with him, but now that you know, I'll have to stop playing games with him. I was planning to shut him down once and for all next week, but now I'll just do it tomorrow at work. I'm not thrilled about this, Cora. I don't think you've thought this through. Have you ever heard of nilai in drugs? Don't be ridiculous, Bob. Brad isn't the kind of guy who'd do something like that. Listen to yourself, Cora. You just finished telling me that this jerk Brad has slept with most of the women you work with, including some married ones. He's a certified jerk. It seems like he's trying to notch every woman he works with on his bedpost. He damn well might resort to drugs to get what he wants. I've never thought about it that way. She paused and then said, "When I deal with him at work tomorrow, I think I'd better do it in front of witnesses. And then maybe I'll make sure all the women he hasn't gotten to yet hear about what you said about his bedpost and the drugs. Will we be okay after that? As I said, I'm not thrilled about what you've been doing, but it seems like I caught it just in time." Cora stood up, undressed, and then said, "Get in bed, baby, and I'll prove how much I love you." Did he buy it? Completely. Hook, line, and sinker. Are you going to keep seeing Brad? Probably not, but damn it, Pauline, he's so huge that I experience intense pleasure every time. Bob is amazing in bed. I love him to death, and I keep promising myself that I'll stop seeing Brad. But then I start thinking about those extra 7 thick centimeters he has over Bob, and I can't resist. I guess I've got another week or so before Brad moves on. He never sticks with one girl for long. I hope you know what you're doing. Your husband's a great guy, and you're risking losing him. I'm just glad you were there when he was telling his story, and thank you for passing along the version of the story I gave him. I'm glad I was there too, and that he didn't recognize me. Of course, he's only seen me once at your wedding, and I was just another new face in the crowd. I got lucky that I could slip away and call you while he was on the dance floor. Sisterhood is forever, and sisters always have each other's backs, right? Absolutely, she replied, and then the two bumped fists. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of English Epics. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.